let's continue on here, Justin. Over to the Big 12, looking at BYU losing to Arizona. They were a team that got bet up, according to the market, earlier in the week. I think you were on them on the last Beat the Closing Number episode. Yep. And Arizona went into BYU, won that one by 11 points. Pretty shocking win for me when you look at the numbers for the Arizona Wildcats. Caleb Love continued to shoot well from three, which was a little bit of unexpected, according to us on Tuesday or on Monday's show.
Yeah, he got me a little.
He got both of us. BYU blitzed Cincinnati by 28 points in their last meeting. And now this one, you could argue a must-win game for both teams, maybe a little bit more of a must-win for Cincinnati's NCAA tournament resume, but BYU also theoretically on the bubble here. So, big one in Ohio. What say you?
This is pretty interesting. I'm such a BYU fan. They are shot quality darlings. It's very rare to find a team in the top 20 of shot quality that is expected to be is essentially being rated as unlucky. They're 15-7. Shot quality expects them 17-5 this season. And that's not like two specific instances. It's 2 net wins on expectancy, which means it's usually, a net of around 3 wins in conference, expected to beat Arizona, expected to beat Utah, expected to beat Texas Tech. Expected to lose to UCF on the road by 1, but again, that was just a really tight game. That's like within an error. You could arguably drop that and call it a tie. And then expected to beat Providence on a terrible shooting performance in one of their most Eastern games. So they're an interesting team. BYU does what you want to see. They're really good at rebounding. They attack the rim really effectively. They run in transition. They develop spacing, and they don't let you get to the rim on defense. So you combine that with a good assist rate and a high frequency of threes. Yeah, they have three like losses that I really am, I guess, concerned with. The Arizona one, again, unexpected, but lost to TCU for real, lost to Houston for real, which are both very good teams, and the TCU loss was expected to be close. So I'm pretty big on this BYU team. I think they are still being slept on. The Big 12 is still, one of the top 3 conferences in the nation. Maybe it's that they get a lot of benefit from playing in the altitude, but this should still be a spot where you want to trust BYU. I've been out on Cincinnati, and honestly, Cincinnati's kind of proven me a little wrong recently, right? Like they rattled off that big win against UCF. I lost that game. They were expected to beat West Virginia, expected to beat Utah. So 3 games where shot quality expected 3 wins, but only got 1. Yeah, I'm likely staying away or taking BYU. If anything, I got to see what the number comes out at. It's a tough one. It's definitely buy low on both.
Yeah, and you look at Cincinnati's shooting numbers, it's bad. It is a poor man's version of St. John's.
26% from deep in conference play.
Right, yeah. And 31.7%, 278th in the country overall this season. This is going to be one of those spots, though, as we always touch on, like Indiana to an extent, even though they're going to be a home dog against Michigan regardless of the number. Cincinnati's probably going to close as a favorite here. I would say maybe even as high as 2.5. So I would say, Justin, tell me if you're in agreement here, wait on maybe the close to tip line rather than betting on open or overnight, because maybe you get a good number here in a quote-unquote revenge spot on the Cougars.
Yeah, again, that's an interesting spot to consider. And again, it's hard. Like I don't normally only do that if I like a side. Like I would probably recommend trying to do both, right? Or split your play up. You're like, okay, well, I think there might be a spot to get in. But then you're going to be kicking yourself if BYU comes out and runs them off the floor wire to wire and you never got your chance. That's a good point. So if you really like them, I do think you got to bet a team pregame if you have that edge. But then you can also say, hey, look, I have an edge. I expect them to do well. I also understand that basketball is a game of runs. It goes up and down. Teams score 3 possessions in a row without an answer. Happens every single game. I'm going to wait for that moment and try to get an even better line. And then look, if it doesn't come and you get a rocking chair win and you just got your hands back behind your head and you're watching the game, you're like, oh, great call, me. that's fine, right? You're going to feel good about that. But I do think, I don't know, but for most bettors, for most people who probably approach things bet to bet and live and die with a result, and maybe not, that's dramatic, not live and die, but like, they feel attached to their bets. Not a lot of people are like me, I guess, Eli, who is so worn down because, and in a good way. I've placed.
Yeah, you are volume.
Right, I've placed 50 bets in the last 48 hours. It's just the truth, right? And I will place another 50 bets in the next 48 hours. It's just how I am. But I think that gives me such a benefit of like eroding my sensitivity away. Like you shouldn't feel one bet because you're not here betting 10 times and never betting again. The idea is that you're doing this for the long term, and if you get a bad result or something doesn't go your way, it's not in your benefit to question your entire process, because in my experience, I think like 30 to 35% of college basketball games just don't even exist within reality. That's how much variability there is in this game, right? Like, it just doesn't go anywhere near close to expectation, and no one gets it right. And how do you know that happens? Because Vegas is 15 points off the line. The sharps are on the other side. Sometimes stuff like that just happens. People are just wrong. It's sports. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. It's like when someone trips me for like, oh, I played a team -1 and they lost by 20. Everyone thought they were supposed to be -1. I was wrong. Market was wrong. Everyone was wrong. Move on. Just craziness. There's no point sitting there and harping on that, or worse, using those results to predict future performance. So I digress. Yep. I'm half sick and I'm a little annoyed today. So.
And you could hear that cough in my throat. We are both sick on the show, but we are powering through on Beat the Closing Number. Come on now. All right.